Welcome everyone for today's study. These unique and special moments in our existence, where we as immortal beings are gathering together, incarnate in all of those in the spiritual world, for this moment of enlightenment, of spirituality in our existences, inviting all of us to relax our minds, our bodies. If needed, we can use the breathing exercise. Help us to breathe in and breathe out so that we can relax our minds, our bodies, allowing our presence to be present, opening our minds and hearts so that facilitates the assimilation of new ideas, that helps us to actualize our understanding, knowing that we are all immortal beings, essentially beings of goodness, imperfect, on our journey of perfecting ourselves through the law of love, which comes from God. Asking that the enlightened beings, the enlightened spirits, may bless every and each one of us here, and even those who later on may be also reaching out for these studies, helping us to center, to calm, and to listen as spirits. And united in these feelings of brotherhood, of friends, of goodness and love, we start this study today. And in that way, once more, I give welcome to everyone who is with us, all of those who later on may join us through our channel, which is YouTube and Facebook, where everyone can follow later on also these studies. And today, the theme which will be developed is Karma of Loneliness. And it will be Andrea Barber, the member of the society, which will be presenting and facilitating this theme to all of us. And in that way, Andrea, I hand it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to reflect on karma of loneliness. But before that, let's consider a few fundamental aspects of Spiritism. What is Spiritism? Within the book What's Spiritism by Allan Kardec, I quote, "Spiritism is a science that deals with the nature, origin, and destiny of spirits and their relation with the corporeal world." Paraphrasing this, it says where we are coming from, why we are here, where we are going to. And also, Spiritism helps us to understand about ourselves in our daily lives, to develop our virtues, to become better people, such as forgiveness, honesty, integrity, compassion, kindness, self-control, responsibility. And also, Spiritism explains the law of reincarnation, where we have one life and various existences. We are immortal spirits with a beginning but no end. And we also are three-dimensional beings. Spirit is essence of ourselves. We have a perispirit, which is our spiritual body. And reincarnated, we have as well our physical body or material body. We're manifesting ourselves through it. In the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, the question 614, I quote, "What is meant by natural law?" I would like to bring this natural law for us to understand as well a bit more. So Allan Kardec asks, what is meant by natural law? And the benefactors answered, "Natural law is the law of God. It is the only law that is truly necessary for human beings to be happy. It shows them what they should or should not do, and they only suffer misfortune when they depart from it. And still in the Spirit's book, part 3, we have the moral laws. So the moral laws are divine or natural law, the law of worship, the law of labor, the law of destruction, the law of progress, the law of society, the law of equality, the law of freedom, and the law of justice, love, and charity. So these laws govern relationships of us towards God, of us towards ourselves, and of us towards our neighbor. Relationships that can be summed up in love. So let's return to our main subject. Karma of Loneliness is from Joana de Ângeles, through Divaldo Pereira Franco's psychography. Joana de Ângeles is his spiritual mentor, and she's here helping the humanity. I would like to share with you a story that Divaldo told about a lady at his workplace, and I would like to be as faithful as possible, so I might read a little bit. So this lady came to Divaldo and asked, "Why does nobody love me? It's funny because people come close to me, and without me being able to figure out why, they move away. I try to be the kindest, the most friendly. I try to make people see something nice in me, and I only receive rejection." So Divaldo says at their workplace, people used to comment that she was an unfriendly woman who transmitted something unpleasant. So him and a friend, out of charity or tenderness or fraternity, they always try to keep a dialogue with her. In that evening, Divaldo wrote a message about Karma of Loneliness by Joana de Ângeles, and he could understand why in the middle of a crowd she was always feeling alone. Because in the past existence, she had abused her power, she had abused her beauty, exploited lives that were transformed into individual and collective torture. Now she has returned to repair. So within Spiritism, within the law of cause and effect. So Divaldo also understood that all of us are trying to repair the abuse of some moment that we wasted in indifference, which created complicated situations in the name of fraternity that we tarnished, in the name of love that we disrespected. Within the Spirit's book, by Allan Kardec, we learn about 3 aspects to work on ourselves. And Divaldo says, regret, atonement, and repair. So regret is taking the responsibility for our mistakes and try differently. And Divaldo reminds us, very important, that yes, regret, but without guilt. Because guilt, he says, is a merciless executioner. And carry on the atone through meritorious acts and repair. As we love and produce goodness, we cancel the evil. Evil here, such as our own shadows, limitations. So let's go now to the slides, and we can see, we can reflect on the slides from Joana de Ângeles. You walk on earth, experiencing emotional neediness and distress, which you believe we can't overcome. So by studying Spiritism, it helps us to understand the reasons of our negative feelings, emotions within the natural laws. These negative feelings, such as loneliness, anxiety, jealousy, anger, fear, and using our tools, such as the family that we have to heal and to promote ourselves, the time that we have available for us, the reincarnation given to us, and also the social connections that we mirror ourselves to become aware. So the next slide. Sometimes we try to laugh, but your lips tighten in a sour grimace. As learners of ourselves, we made choices in the past using our free will. So the past experiences are in our present, imprinted on our perispirit. As you mentioned before, spiritism as a perispirit, as our spiritual body, we imprint everything in there, such as our thoughts, our feelings, places that we are or you've been, smells, different smells, obviously the contact with people, and so forth, so on. So, using our free will today, choosing to be better person, better people, we will impact on our future. So, stimulating this way the inner growth of the virtuous aspects. So, the next slide, you crave for affection and find out that no one inspires love. So, tormenting you and falling into unjustifiable melancholy. So, identify a negative aspect on ourselves, having self knowledge is very healthy. And in that way, being aware, we can overcome making our efforts. For example, if I can identify on myself the neediness, this negative aspect, neediness, for example, normally we project our needs to the others, becoming very demanding with expectations. So, learning to look after myself, look after my needs, we are learning to love, to respect ourselves. And then we'll be able to extend to the others because you only can offer to the others what you can offer to ourselves. In the Spirits book by Allan Kardec, the question 909, I quote, could humans always overcome their bad tendencies through their own efforts? And the benefactors answered, yes, and sometimes with very little effort. What they lack is willpower. How few of you make such an effort, however. So the benefactors, they were very clear to us. If you really want to make effort, you can do it. But because we lack as a willpower, we try sometimes not to overcome. So the next one, you plan happiness and fight for it, yet you discover yourself alone, carving rough inner anguish. So reflect on the law of cause and effect, meaning the law of reincarnation. It's a real inner cure. In the manual and basic dictionary of Spiritism by Ariovaldo Cavarzan and Gesiel Andrade, I quote, every cause has an effect. Good causes lead to good effects. Bad causes bring bad consequences. So these effects, good or bad, can continuously influence the life of the spirit, including the spiritual life and successive reincarnations. The effect can be modified by new causes, which is our free will. Really important to remember, we are never alone. We created by God with love to love, and therefore we're always connected with Him. And we also can remember that we are interconnected with the benefactors, our mentors. The help is always there, but yet we can choose to neglect it. So the next slide, it says, you dream of a happy family with laughing children and someone to love you dearly and make your life a blissful gift. If you're going through these experiences like this, for example, normally we had plenty of opportunities to overcome our limitations in the past, but we wasted, we neglected them. But being created by God with love, He always offers us chances to restart our journeys through the reincarnations. And we always reincarnate prepared to overcome our limitations. We are prepared to overcome them. So trusting ourselves, trusting God, we are capable to do it. The pain is a mechanism of re-education, is our teacher to promote it, to move ourselves towards goodness. For example, one person with lots of difficulties, when chooses to overcome them with integrity, exerts serenity. And I always think this kind of attitude reminds me of a diamond. It's like a diamond. Why? In a way that we are aware of our internal limitations and choose to overcome them, enlightening ourselves, feeling happy. So the next slide says, you suffer and think suffering has come to stay within your heart. There is a song, it's called Epitafio by Sergio Brito from a band Titans. I quote, everyone knows the joy and pain they carry in their hearts. So as unique spirits here, whatever we are in this universe, transiting in our experiences, we imprint everything in our very spirit, as I mentioned before. So therefore, you always have different feelings, different thoughts, but we always have this inner power to transcend, to overcome them for goodness. Because we are created to love, by God. So we are capable to do it. Haroldo shares a metaphor with us, and I think this is fantastic as well, from a spirit, Emmanuel, saying, when we are planting, we are laughing. But after the plantation, we cry. Meaning that sometimes we can choose to go in a wrong pathway that might feel happy. And we don't feel like dealing with the consequences, but it's necessary for our own progress. When choosing to overcome our limitations, we heal ourselves, feeling lighter internally. So the next slide. However, we ignore the inner suffering of others. Many people walk about as if their lives were a bed of roses. They smile gently, as if parading in triumph. But they too may be facing great difficulties. Their troubles might be different from yours, but are not less afflicting. If you could attune your soul to theirs, you would be surprised to realize that many of them secretly wish they had your small share of happiness. Within the Medium's book by Allan Kardec, chapter 20, item 12, I quote, light always comes to those who want to receive it. Whoever wants to be enlightened must avoid darkness, and darkness lies in the impurity of the heart. Impurity here as our shortcomings, our shadows. Everyone in this planet Earth, all of us, which is a hospital for ill souls, is in recuperation. Why? We are here to improve ourselves, developing our virtuous aspects. Our virtuous aspects, we can name some of them, such as honesty, responsibility, be responsible for what I think, responsible for our actions, my words as well, kindness, solidarity, loyalty, generosity, developing, therefore, the divine within us. We are all going through probation and atonement, but we are capable to make better choices. For example, if I need looking for suitable therapies that are available, medical help in case if someone needs, consider finding a pathway of spirituality to nourish ourselves internally. So the next slide. So let's reflect the next one, please, Vanisi. Okay. I've got here my slides, so we're going to carry on reading mine. Just give me a second, please bear with me. Here we go. Life on Earth is full of paradoxes because this is a planet of probation, spiritual education, redeeming atonement and reparation. So do not be discouraged by your difficulties. Loneliness is your karma. So, in this slide, to clarify karma within Spiritism is us moving within the law of cause and effect through our own choices, our initiatives. And it's very important to remember that all God's laws means laws of love. Within the book, Divine Justice by Spirit Emmanuel, I quote, "Abstain from useless complaints, resist and serve, dedicating yourselves to help those who cry in greater difficulties, and you will surprise in beneficence, access to sympathy, and renewal of your own adversaries." Adversaries here, as you learn within Spiritism, are inside us, such as laziness, hate, slander, indifference, dishonest. We are here to educate ourselves with healthy and dignified habits, such as learning to be humble, learning to charity, meaning to be benevolent to ourselves and the others, learning to be indulgent, learning to forgive, learning to be in control of our thoughts, our words, our actions. Why? Because we are learning to love ourselves. Joana de Angelis says, and I quote, "It always starts with our thoughts. Every time we have a disturbing thought, replace it with a positive one, such as, I can do it, I love myself, I believe in myself." Just to complement this thought about this a phrase about Joana de Angelis, I thought is important as well to add. In the book In the Realms of Mediumship by Spirit André Luiz through Chico Xavier's psychography, I quote, "To imagine is to create, and all creation has life and movement. Bring responsibility to the consciousness that manifests it. We think and we give existence to the idealized objective." So when Joana de Angelis helps us reflecting on this, if I have a disturbing thought and I swap, I replace for a positive one with all these examples I gave you before, why? This is reality, because everything we think and you feel, we bring it to life. There is movement, exists, give existence for that. So it's very important to be able to replace. Let's go through the slide, the next slide. If you are pessimistic, change your mental attitude and render service to others. Within the book Divine Justice by Spirit Emmanuel, I quote, "Not only in days of regrets and preparation, in all circumstances, service is the antidote to evil. Evil here, such as our imperfections, our shadows, giving examples such as procrastination, this can be an evil, arrogance, selfishness, pessimism, laziness. So the more we serve, the more we replace our imperfections, learning to condition ourselves on the new ways. being more respectful, being more resilient, more peaceful, more responsible. In that way, expanding these resources within, feeling more harmonized, centered, peaceful. That's why Emmanuel says to Chico Xavier, and today, who is Chico Xavier's mentor, Emmanuel, and today he would say to all of us, discipline, discipline, and discipline, which means educate our thoughts, educate our emotions, educate our actions. On the question, Allan Kardec also had a question to the benefactors within the Spirits book on the item, the passions. So the question is the 908, and I quote, how may we define the limit at which passion ceases to be good or bad? The passions are like a horse that is useful and controlled, but dangerous when it does the controlling. We can recognize when a passion becomes harmful at the moment in which you cease to govern it, and when it results in any injury to yourself or others. So the problem is when we fall into excess. And there is also in this question another comment from the benefactors, which I would like to add as well. I think it's very important for us to revise all this, where to go, when is the limit to do good or bad. So every passion that brings us nearer to the animal nature takes us further from the spiritual nature. Every sentiment that lifts us above the animal nature announces the predominance of spirit over matter and draws us closer to perfection. So the next slide, that you lack, today you lack what once you had in plenty, but overlooked carelessly. Here we can reflect on the law of reincarnation as a blessed opportunity to value what we wasted before in the past existences. So now, using our free will according to the natural laws to progress on the two dimensions, like we studied with Joana de Angelis as well. So the two dimensions of beings are emotional level and intellectual level. The intellectual level here, in a way that we expand our knowledge about universal laws, developing our emotional intelligence, therefore balancing ourselves, impacted today and on our future. So within the book, Divine Justice by Spiritism Emmanuel, I quote, you face difficult problems in your personal life. Free yourself from the useless burden of unprofitable affliction. So here we can reflect on learning to accept the reality, stop complaining or no complain. There is nothing we're going through here that you're not prepared for. There is nothing that we can go through, experiences that we cannot handle. So stop complaining it's a real heal to us, that we can face ourselves, we can face our problems, we can. Of course, it can be very challenging because you're not used to it. But the more you try, easier it's going to be. So the next slide, we say, yesterday we poured abuse on others and sinned against love. So just to clarify here as well, sin means for us learners of Spiritism, they are our own limitations. They are mistakes, our shadows, our imperfections, where we hurt ourselves and the others in the past. But we are here to make different. So take responsibility for our own imperfections responsibility in re-educate ourselves. Although I feel like, for example, I'm going to give an example. Although I feel like gossiping, I choose not to. Why? Because I'm learning to control myself. And this I can pay attention what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. Don't I like someone? I used to criticize people, but today, after these studies, helping me to enlighten my thoughts, make better choices, because I know I will be the first one feeling good or feeling bad. Within the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, the question 785, I quote, "What is the greatest obstacle to the progress of humanity?" And the benefactors answered, "Pride and selfishness." And the question 895, I quote, "Another characteristic sign of imperfection?" And the benefactor answered, "Self-interest." So here, very easy for us to understand what actually stop us want to move forwards. Is like they said to us, pride, selfishness, and self-interest. Such as, let's give some examples about self-interest. Just thinking about myself, everything must be according to my rules. I won't use my time for myself. I don't care about the others as long as I do everything I want on my time, only for me. In the situation is living the selfish and infantile way, leading us to unpleasant feeling. Empty, you feel empty. So if you want to purify our heart, we go towards love, towards God's love, following the God's laws, meaning increasing our ability to expand the goodness within ourselves, therefore feeling calmer, more serene, more flexible, more tolerant, more loving. In this way, practicing the virtues, becoming more sharing, more fraternal, more cooperative. Or in another way, if you choose to hurt ourselves against God's laws, we're going to feel heavy, you're going to feel sad and empty. So the next slide says, your spiritual conscience knows what we must go through to atone for your mistakes from past existences. This is the reason why your moments of joy are so fleeting, and you soon return to your sadness, shutting yourself up in loneliness. Our inner light is here vibrating, reminding us of our duties, that we came here to fulfill and free within. So we all return to the planet Earth to succeed within love, to overcome our limitations, our old habits that they're all waiting for us to start moving forward, leaving this comfort zone, which is very uncomfortable. Because why? Why is uncomfortable? Because you're created to progress. We are created to feel happy. Therefore, we are also imprinting new values, new habits in our perispirit, new habits such as obedience to God's laws, resignation to his loving will. In that way, for example, if I feel lonely, I acknowledge it, but I choose to focus on the overcome, to attune more, growing more spiritually. Socrates, there is an example about Socrates when he went to prison in an unjustified way, and his wife came to visit him one night before, and she was devastated. She was desperate, crying, saying everything was very unfair. That's not possible. He was innocent. Why he was there in prison? But he felt free in his consciousness, showing us his understanding the immortality of the soul. He knew he wouldn't die. That's why he was so tranquil. So the next, please. Thank you. It's also possible that those whom you have hurt in a past existence have not forgiven you. If you keep your mind concentrated on bitter thoughts, you might attune to them, and their remote resentment will reach you and harass you. As learners, as learners, we are still more imperfect than perfect. We still make mistakes and learning with them. Therefore, we make our own connections through our good thoughts and our emotions. So being responsible for what we think and what we feel and what we do, we also are connecting minds around us. Within the book Mediumship, Everything You Need to Know by Richard Simonet, I quote, "How can you overcome these negative influences, enabling ourselves to receive only good influences?" The mentor proclaims incisively, "By practicing good and place your trust in God." We have here a precious guide to free ourselves from negative influences. And he continues, I quote, "How does it work?" Richard Simonet asked. "How does it work?" So, trusting in God maintains emotional balance in difficult situations, avoid the depressive state that make us vulnerable to inferior influences. And practicing good leads us in the tune with the sources of life, providing the infallible protection of spiritual benefactors. So very important to hear again, our responsibility, what we think, what we feel. This is our responsibility. We don't responsible anyone, nobody, not incarnated, neither disincarnated. We take responsibility and move on. So the next slide, react optimistically, learn to forgive, attune to the higher spheres of positive thoughts. So learn to forgive. Why? Because we're learning to love ourselves. We are learning to free ourselves from pride, from selfishness, like we studied before. Every day is an opportunity to heal ourselves. Divaldo Pereira Franco says, I quote, "There is only loneliness because there is no solidarity." So when we open ourselves to solidarity and go towards the others to help, we won't feel alone. Therefore, loneliness makes room for the joy of living. So Divaldo, he brought the joy within through the new ways of being, overcoming his imperfections. So the next, please. Love without expecting fulfillment. Serve regardless of retribution. Very important. It feels so good to do good. We expand the divine within ourselves. Divaldo tells us that one day a friend, talking to him, said to him he preserved himself in formaldehyde. But Divaldo laughed and replied to him that formaldehyde preserves dead bodies, and he was preserved by the joy of living. How? What's the joy of living? Overcoming his fears, loneliness, sadness. For example, if we notice we are undisciplined, let's discipline ourselves. If I notice that I like to gossip about people, slander, let's discipline ourselves not doing this. Obviously, it's practicing. At the beginning, it can be a little bit, oh no, I feel a bit, oh, this is not comfortable for me. But the more you do, better you feel, lighter you feel, because you're going towards us, God's inside us. And then also we have resources to help us, such as prayers. What's a prayer? Is a natural conversation to God from our heart. Read good books that enlighten our knowledge. And when you go to sleep, for example, on the emancipation of our soul, we contact our friends, spiritual friends, and then talking to them, fortifying ourselves. So when you come back to the body, we feel more fortified. We feel stronger to face our challenges and to overcome what we should do, what you need to for our own happiness. So the next one, it says, what good you do today will atone for your past errors. One day you shall find the love you seek. So, being aware of ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, considering the law of cause and effect, therefore being responsible for our own choices, we live today better than yesterday, and you live tomorrow better than today. There is one metaphor about a dog. I love this, and I always use to help me as well. There is one place, one person was going every day to this place, and he saw this dog lay on the floor, but he was crying every day. He was going there, he saw this dog crying, and one day he stopped and asked someone, and asked someone, he said, why this dog is crying so much? Every day I pass here, he's crying. And the person said, well, because he's laying on nails, on top of a nails. And then and the guy was very worried. He said, oh my God, but why he doesn't get up? Why he doesn't leave this place? Oh, because it doesn't hurt enough. It didn't hurt enough for him to leave this place, stand up and leave this place. So let's try not be like this dog. So we don't need to wait to hurt so much to move on, to move forwards. We don't need to. The first invitation is love. We can overcome, I mentioned before, we came prepared to overcome our limitations, our imperfections. Let's choose, let's make it easier for ourselves. So the next one, Jesus, the unloved lover of mankind, is still here with us. And his love for us is the same today as it was before, and that it will be forever. So Jesus, our brother and our friend, is with us, between us, everywhere. He's waiting for us more than 2,000 years to prosper, because he knows we can do it. Jesus said, it is difficult, but it's possible. So every time I'm going through some experience in my life, some challenges, I'm thinking about that. Jesus said, it is difficult, yes, but it's possible. So let's condition ourselves in healthy habits, promoting our inner potentials as immortal beings. There is a note as well on this message. So I'm going to read. Pain is a constant learning mechanism. In the greatest laws of the Creator, there is no suffering for the sake of suffering. All suffering aims learning, aims the redemption of the soul that seeks happiness. This means that there is a purpose in all the pain that reaches us. Knowing how to suffer well is an art, and every art requires discipline, discipline, discipline. Also, courage and resignation. It's important to remember that God never places burdens so heavy that our shoulders can't bear them. The burden is proportionate to our physical and spiritual strengths. And one of the beauties of this life is that when we set out to suffer well, we are never really alone. So reflect on this slide. I would like to share about freedom. So freedom within Spiritism refers to responsibility, and within God's laws, to live in harmony. So which freedom do you choose? Do you choose to do only what we want and only what we like, bring us pain, debts, becoming prisoners of ourselves, our passions, resulting in happiness? Or we choose to do in order to grow, evolve, progress, therefore choosing to make all experiences meaningful? So this is a good question for us. To conclude our reflections with you, I have one note here as well. In the context of karma, loneliness is often seen as a potential karmic consequence of past actions like isolation, neglecting relationships, lack of compassion towards others, or pushing people away. Essentially, create a cycle where one experiences the same isolation they might have inflicted on others in previous existences, when in reality, it's a great opportunity for introspection and personal growth, healing, allowing one to work on building healthier connections in the present with ourselves, with others, and with life. We're all thinking and emotional beings, going through various experiences to learn to manage our thoughts and control our attitudes, re-educating ourselves within God's laws and our consciousness, that way becoming more peaceful, or temporarily feeling unhappy, deviating from the path of goodness. So this is all for today, and I wish you much peace to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for facilitating these reflections for us, Andrea. And hope all of us can go back and listen again, reflect again, because this is the way that we all are. So in that way, as we're coming to the end today, I invite everyone with our inner connection, with our hearts full of gratitude for these final moments, just to say thank you for the universe, for everything that we received already in order to be here, for all the enlightened spirits who have been with us, also helping us to think in a new way, helping us to reflect about ourselves as immortal beings according to the greatest law in the universe, which is the law of love. So with gratitude, we say thank you for everything that has been given to us. Thank you for being able for these moments of spirituality, knowing that a lot of friends, a lot of companions in the world don't have that yet in this moment exactly. So we also are appreciative for our existences, for this reincarnation, for our families, for all of those who are part in our existences, that we know we are here together in order to learn to respect each other, to learn to relate with each other in a fraternal way, looking out in order to be more solidarious, to cooperate for the good of all everywhere, either within our biological family, within our universal family, within our workplaces, with all of those that we work, even on the streets. And in that way, we also united through the feelings of love and tenderness and brotherhood. We also wish to extend all these feelings to all of those who may be suffering, for all of those who are feeling alone, wherever they are, either on earth or beyond it. We also extend these feelings of brotherhood for all of those who may be in depression, for all of those who may be very down, and asking also that Jesus, the friend and companion of all of us, may be with them and blessing them wherever they are. We need much gratitude in our hearts for everything that we received, even the challenging moments, which are experiences to potentialize ourselves further, conquering the virtuous aspects or the higher aspects of ourselves. And with that feeling of gratitude, really felt in the depths of ourselves, we conclude this meeting today and wishing much peace to everyone wherever you are today and always. So be it. And in that way, Andrea, thank you very much for facilitating that once more. And we are coming to the end and inviting everyone to be with us next week with also more reflections, and by the end of the month with a longer reflection, as we are all students and learners of the natural laws of life. Much peace to all. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.